Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. Today I want to share with you one of the most painful and confusing stories that I have had to go through. Have you ever wondered what is hidden in your loved one's phone? One day I came across this question and found my girlfriend's correspondence with her ex. What started as an innocent curiosity led to the destruction of our relationship and a disappointment that I will never forget. Watch this video to the end to find out what happened next and what lessons I learned from this difficult situation. If you are interested in such stories and want to hear more personal revelations, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell so as not to miss new releases. Thank you for being with us, and let's get started. My name is Mike, I'm 32 years old, and I live in a small town in Ohio. I have always considered myself a person who values honesty and trust in relationships. I've been dating a girl named Lisa for 5 years, and we've been planning the future together. Lisa is a wonderful woman, kind and caring. She always supported me in all my endeavors, and I believed that she was my soulmate. But as it turned out, there was a lot I didn't know about the one I loved. Lisa and I met at a party at our mutual friends when we were both 27 years old. I remember the moment she entered the room, her laughter, her smile, her eyes. We immediately found a common language, and after a few weeks we became a couple. I thought I had found my soulmate. We did everything together. We traveled, went hiking, watched movies, and shared our deepest thoughts and feelings. But one day I started to notice that Lisa had become more detached. She spent more and more time on her phone, immersed in correspondence. When asked who she was communicating with, she answered evasively, saying that she was with friends or work colleagues. I believed her, because before that we had no reason to distrust. We always discussed our problems, and we had a rule: no secrets from each other. However, one day something started to bother me. It was Friday evening. We were sitting at home watching a movie when her phone rang. She looked at the screen and immediately pressed the button to turn off the sound. I noticed her tense expression, but I didn't immediately ask. A few minutes later, her phone started vibrating, and she quickly picked it up and went into another room. It seemed strange to me. As the weeks passed, her behavior became increasingly suspicious. She began to go for walks alone, explaining that she needed time for herself. I tried not to think the worst, but doubts began to swirl in my head. One evening, while Lisa was sleeping, I heard a notification sound on her phone. My heart started beating faster. I went to her bedside table and saw that a message from Brian was displayed on the screen. I knew who Brian was, her ex-boyfriend. They dated before we started a relationship, but as she said, they broke up by mutual consent, and he went to live in another city. She assured me that there had been nothing between them for a long time and could not be. But this message got me thinking. I decided to take my time and not make a scene. I needed more evidence to understand what was really going on. I decided to observe the situation and not let my emotions run wild. A few days later, I noticed that Lisa had locked herself in the bathroom with the phone again. It was already becoming a habit for her, and it bothered me. A lot of thoughts were spinning in my head, but I tried to keep myself in check. A week later, I accidentally saw her phone on the table while she was taking a shower. I knew it wasn't the most ethical decision, but I couldn't take it anymore. I took her phone and unlocked it because I knew the password. And what I saw turned my world upside down. The correspondence with Brian was active, and, judging by the reports, they began communicating a few months ago. They recalled their past together, talked about how they miss each other, how they would like to meet. In one of the messages, Lisa even wrote, "Sometimes I think about what would have happened if we hadn't broken up. My heart skipped a beat." All these conversations, walking alone and her detachment, everything became clear. I continued to read the correspondence. In one of the messages, Brian offered to meet when he was passing through our city. I realized that this was no longer just innocent conversations, but something more. My heart was breaking into pieces. Lisa, my Lisa, the one I trusted the most in the world, is now talking to her ex again, and their conversations were full of flirting and memories. I didn't know what to do. I decided not to tell her anything right away. I needed more information. I became more attentive to her behavior and how she behaves when we are together. Lisa began to spend more time away from home, often explaining this by meeting with friends or doing extra work. But my trust was shattered, and I didn't believe a single word she said. A couple of weeks later, I noticed one day in her schedule when she was going to meet with her friends. I decided to keep an eye on her. On this day, she dressed especially beautifully, made up, which she rarely did for ordinary walks. I knew she was up to something. I followed her from a distance, trying not to get in sight, And as I suspected, she didn't go to her friends. She arrived at a small, cozy restaurant in the city center. I stayed in the car, watching her go inside. A few minutes later, I saw a man come up to the restaurant, and I immediately recognized him. It was Brian. He smiled and hugged her when they met. I felt everything inside me shrink. I wanted to rush in there and make a scene, but something stopped me. Maybe I was still hoping that this was just a meeting between two old acquaintances, but deep down I knew the truth. I sat in the car for about 2 hours while they were at the restaurant. When they came out, I noticed that they looked happy and were laughing. It was more than just a friendly meeting. They got into his car and drove away. I didn't know what to do. My hands were shaking, and I felt tears rolling down my cheeks. I knew I had found proof of her infidelity, but I didn't know how to deal with it. I returned home, and when Lisa came, I tried to behave as usual. She didn't notice anything strange and continued her business. At night, when she fell asleep, I picked up her phone again and decided to check the correspondence again. This time I saw that she thanked Brian for a wonderful evening and wrote that she hoped to see him again. It was the last blow. I realized that I could no longer remain silent. The next day, when we were sitting at dinner, I decided to talk to her. "Lisa, I need to have a serious talk with you," I said, looking her straight in the eye. She froze and looked at me intently. "Is something wrong, Mike?" she asked, trying to look calm. "I know you're talking to Brian again. I have seen your correspondence and I know that you have met," I said in a firm voice. Her face paled and she lowered her eyes. "Mike, it's not what you think," she began, but I interrupted her. "Don't lie to me, Lisa. I saw everything. I saw how you hugged, how you laughed. I know it's not just friendship. My words were full of pain and disappointment." She was silent for a moment, and then said softly, "Yes, I did meet him, but that doesn't mean anything. I just wanted to close the old gestalts, to understand that it's over." But I couldn't believe a word she said anymore. Close the old gestalts. Why didn't you tell me about it? Why did you hide and lie to me? There was more bitterness in my voice than anger. She started crying, but her tears didn't touch me anymore. We spent the whole evening talking, trying to figure out what happened. She admitted that all this time she could not forget Brian, that she still had feelings for him. It broke my heart. I never thought that the person I trusted the most could betray me like this. A few days later, we decided to part ways. It wasn't easy, but I knew I couldn't be with the man who betrayed my trust anymore. Now I have started a new life where I am learning to trust and love again. But this story has left a mark on my soul forever, reminding me how important it is to be honest in a relationship and never turn a blind eye to signals that may indicate impending betrayal.